So our project idea is called Communicate Your Impact. It's an action learning challenge to communicate our outcomes and amplify permaculture's global impact. Mai?
Joder. Sorry. Yeah, so the idea was to, like, impact is a little bit complicated, so we decided to gamify it and make it fun. And we created like a challenge that we're going to, like, there's going to be like different chapters in time, and hoping that people will take part and we'll work together to create, like, to work on the communicating our projects. I don't know, Kate?
It's going to be a practical, engaging, we're going to come up with ways that are practical, that are engaging, so that you can communicate your project's impact and anyone else that's taking part in the challenge. I'm not talking about your Emergent Festival project, I'm talking about whatever permaculture projects you're doing in the real world. And so it will be an action learning challenge, and you can use the participants in the challenge can use storytelling, visual tools, real world actions to communicate their outcomes and the impacts of their projects. And our aim is to empower projects to secure funding, partnerships, and greater recognition, which in turn will amplify permaculture's global impact. And we've got several smart objectives. Do you want to take them one each, Amy? Sorry, you're not part of it, Amy.
Like, do you want me to read them?
We do, yeah, if you want.
Okay. So the first one, to develop a gamified action learning challenge to help permaculture practitioners improve how they communicate the outcomes and impact of their work. So it's specific. We want to create 4 to 5 interactive chapters in a slideshow format with practical challenges for participants to complete. So there's going to be like different stepstones to keep going. The other one would be to use existing knowledge from the Permaculture Impact Project and networks to co-create a lightweight, engaging format, because we are tired of working all the time. So lightweight and gaming is fun. And another objective would be to strengthen the ability of permaculture projects to tell their stories, secure support, and amplify their impact. And the last one would be to release the first challenge within 4 months, with the full sequence completed within 6 months. Kate?
Yeah, and I think before we go on to how it aligns with CoLab, I think it's just to say that we've both done work with permaculture projects to try to it's not, yeah, as Mai said, it's not a straightforward process doing this work, and a lot of people are not doing it. There's a lot of amazing projects out there doing amazing work, but we're not, as a movement, as good at quantifying or collating and gathering the outcomes and impact and communicating that. And so because we don't have a corporate lobby, or not generally at all, we don't have a corporate lobby because we're not a profitable industry. We don't have a corporate lobby out there lobbying for us. So we need to do it for ourselves, and we need to do it in whatever pragmatic ways that we can. So this is a baby step towards helping us as a movement to like shout about what the good work that we're doing and the good outcomes. Mai?
I don't know what I could add to this.
I have a question. You guys have 2 minutes, but I have a question. Are you guys also going to like consolidate the information? Like if you're going to be sharing this technique, then maybe people are using it, then you can consolidate it so people know about these projects, or is that part of it or no?
Well, that would certainly be part of the outputs of this within the CoLab for sure, from as direct result of this challenge. But we're both working on a project that Alejandra mentioned earlier called Permaculture Impact, which is also looking at other ways to do this type of impact journey. And so there is certainly potential to use what we learn during this and share that through other channels like the Permaculture Impact website. But also we have the download place on the perma.earth website, which is the CoLab website. And this would be the artifacts created through this would be uploaded to that at the end of the Emergent Festival.
Yeah, and I guess we will use the Emergent Festival channel to share the different challenges and everything. So they'll stay there. People can get them later and try to do them by themselves, even if they are not in the time frame or whatever. But they'll still be there on Slack for everybody to use.
Yeah.
I think mine might have answered my question. I just wanted to say maybe as a statement that Kate and Mai, this is amazing. Like Kate, I've watched your work over the time you've been in the collab and love it. Huge fan. I think this is a great way to do it. I think my question was though, is this going to be like a series of webinars, or is lightweight meaning that the challenges are going to be like stripped down and quite lean? Because we've just been struggling with engagement to get people to come to more meetings. So I'm wanting to know about that.
Yeah, not events. No, it's going to be something really lightweight. I think we said slideshow format or something that's, yeah, as light as possible. So it will just be there for when you're ready. And yeah, definitely not events. That's, yeah.
Brilliant. Well done, you guys.
Great. Thank you very
Any
much.
other questions? Okay, brilliant.
So yeah, it's the third season of the CoLab podcast. So I've been involved in the previous 2 years. In the first year, I was doing the interviews. In the second year, I was more of a supporting role, and Daniel was creating the interviews. But this year, I'll be doing most of the work. So I think you all know what a podcast is. I think this project is a really great opportunity for grassroots permaculture projects, for people who are on the ground doing the work, like really making a difference, to receive promotion, to talk about what they're doing. It's really a platform for them. I think for the listeners, it's a great opportunity to learn about permaculture. So it has an educational and an entertainment purpose. For the collab, it gives a chance to kind of build a pool of resources that will help to attract people into this space. So it's a chance to kind of promote the collab, and the podcast episodes, they're hosted on the Learn website, which is a micro enterprise within the collab. I think it's a great networking practice. It's a chance for the collab to kind of communicate with all these different projects all around the world. And yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to promote diversity. On the last season, we had lots of people from the global south. Yeah, there was a great diversity, like lots of projects from all over the place. So on the team, it's Hans and myself. So yeah, I see now that Hans can't make it. But I will be doing the bulk of the work. Hans is going to be a sounding board. So when I'm researching the projects who have agreed to interviews, I'll have to prepare questions, and Hans is going to help with this kind of, yeah, checking that the questions are really getting into finding out about the projects. He's also an editor, so he does sound editing and video editing, so he'll be contributing in this way. He said he wants to make a nice jingle, which I think could be a nice touch. Yeah, so what's involved in this on a practical level? Basically, we have to put the call out, find people to get involved. We would hope to create 6 episodes. Then it's a matter of researching the projects, preparing questions, doing the interviews, editing, adding licenses, writing short descriptions, creating web pages. And then how we've done it in the past, we kind of promoted by releasing 1 episode a month. And this gives a good chance for promotion through the CoLab newsletter and through the CoLab LinkedIn. So kind of pacing it in this way. I think that's about all I have to say.
Charlie, unfortunately, the project cannot be considered unless all the applicants are able to attend all events. So I think what I'll do is I'll switch your project to draft, and I'll give you, I think you didn't know that Hans cannot make it. So that's not your fault right now. I'll give you a couple of days to find a replacement mate that can make it to all events that are, and I hope that's okay. But in the meantime, the monies won't be able to be allocated to your project, but you'll still be in the rounds, let's say, when you have updated us with the replacement team, okay?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he did say he was going to come, so
He
I
did
didn't,
say,
I
okay,
didn't,
never
I didn't
mind.
realize he wasn't going to be here.
That's not a problem.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Remy, you're on mute.
I am muted, sorry, yes. So it's the future of the CoLab events, right? That we're doing.
Yes, yes.
So that's myself, Alejandra, and Paul. And I would like to pass this on to Alejandra, who's going to be our reporting officer, and she can talk a little bit about what we're doing.
Hello. So we would like to do a series of 4 events where we can imagine and co-create the future of the CoLab post this year. For us, it's important to do it as an event. I hear you, Vida, about the difficulty in engagement and adding more meetings to our calendar. But one of the key ideas of the key achievements that we want is to create a friendly online workspace and to create synergy worldwide between permaculture groups and and to work together and enhance coherence and literally imagine the future that we want to see happening. In our team, there's also Paul Phillips that we just met. And yes, that's what we like to do. I'm unsure on what to add. Amy? Paul?
Go ahead, Paul.
I've only been here a couple of days, but looking at the so obviously as I understand it, and Amy, correct me if I'm wrong about any of these things, but so the core funding for the CoLab finishes at the end of this year, and so we need to find new funding, whether that be one core funder or whether that be multiple funders, and someone is coming in as a funding strategist to do that very soon. So, of course, it's very important for that person and to a lesser extent, the communications person who's also coming in, the specialist, to really understand what kind of organization do we want going forward. Is it largely staying the same? Does it need to pivot? Does it need to grow? Does it need to specialize? So really trying to understand, and obviously the expertise and the knowledge and also the kind of the will and the human investment thus far has all come from the members. So really finding out where they see, first of all, also what the successes have been so far, so we can really make sure that we're building on the successes, understanding where things haven't quite worked out, where we've gone down wrong holes or it's been the wrong time, so that the funding strategist can go forward and really find the right type of funding, because finding quality funding is very important. Money that allows us to do what we want to do, not just money that then ties us in knots and stops us from being able to do the things we want to do. Also really important that we bring forward the different networks and knowledges from all of our members, because we may find the next funder through one of you, one of the extended group, that's where the funding might actually come from. So really tapping into our broader network is really important. And the third thing is obviously making sure every step of the way that what we end up proposing is right for, you know, as right as it possibly can be for everyone and for everybody's needs, because that will also, I think, depend then on the way do we look at like just one big piece of funding with a big target, or is it multiple different streams based on different different needs of the different streams within the organization. So I think there's quite a lot to look at. And just in terms of the events, I wonder whether we could also look at some of them being events and some of them being other forms of engagement, maybe some that are more, you know, asynchronous, such as surveys that people can add into if we can't do all four of the events. So I think there's different things that we can look at and adapt as we go forward.
Absolutely. And I think the intention is to also use already existing outputs from the Next Steps project teams who are right now working on funding profiles and imaginariums, to bring all of that in and to also invite other people in who are not right now part of the Next Steps project, but are part of the CoLab, to feed into this collective and co-creative approach into the next period of whatever the CoLab is and wants to become. I think I remember we have done this kind of exercise and these kinds of events in forms of open spaces before the Next Steps project started, and the Next Steps project was largely also community-led and community-informed and community co-created. And this is exactly where we are again in this space, where we have a little bit time and a little bit money to try and form a picture around what we want to create together. Are there any questions? 2 minutes. No. Okay.
I have a question. Is it for the engagement of other people in the CoLab? Are you going to be reaching out, or people need to contact you directly, or how does that work?
No, we will organize first of all, I think we will organize the first event and go from there. And then all the CoLab members will be invited to participate in it. And there will be an email, and there will be an event on the calendar and posts on the Everybody channel. So don't worry, you're not going to miss it. And something else also, that this kind of exercise is needed, whether we have funding to do it or not. So if we're not funded, we'll likely do a much more smaller version. But if we're funded, we could lean into it and really use the resources we have for best effect. And hopefully that will benefit the CoLab immensely, because obviously we are dependent on this kind of strategy and image formation and co-creation in order to move ahead into the future.
I'm so hesitant always to take up so much space, but I've always got 100 questions. Firstly, Amy, I think this is great design. Alejandra, I didn't mean at all like that we shouldn't have any more events. I think this is we have to have an event to talk about these things. I guess what I'm not clear about is what would the output be? Do you intend on, as a group, kind of weaving these together or working with the funding strategist? What does that look like on the other end of it? So it's not just a series of open meetings.
Part of it, sorry, Alejandra, it's okay. Do you want to go?
No, please go if you are happy to respond.
It's okay. Part of the money is going to go into the design of what this is, and for sure it will have outputs that can be used by the funding strategist and the communication strategist in order to move that into implementation. So I expect we will have lots of outputs.
Great. We're over time, but screen is being shared.
Yeah, there we go. I figured out which button to press. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for hosting, and Camille and Insignia, please jump in as well. So mapping permaculture business models is something I've been thinking about. I think I've been thinking about what my Emergent Festival project is going to be for months already. Especially as we kind of come into this like end of this like set funding, and there's lots and lots of little projects that might want to become micro enterprises. And one of the things I'm doing is I'm doing an MBA. And the reason I'm doing an MBA is really about bringing in the skills of organization, the skills of business effectiveness into spaces like this, into regenerative networks, into permaculture networks. So what is business model specifically? Because outside of the business world, and I'm a startup founder, I've taken 2 startups to market. I've worked as a mentor. I've done specific like business model training with people. And it's very different to let's put together a business plan, you know? Like a business model is the absolute permaculture design mechanics of a business. It's really, really exciting. And the example I came up with to explain it is there's quite I would say, a common business model that we have in permaculture, where you go and start a garden service. And you take your garden service and you go to your clients' gardens and you do up the garden really great, and you take all the waste, you take it away with you, and you go and make compost. And then the next time you come to your client's garden in 6 months' time, you're selling them the compost. And I thought, well, what if we could get a whole lot of different business models, from all these brilliant business strategists, from all these really good, permaculture business models, and boil them down to the essence. Like in that example, I call it the earthworm, and then how can we adapt that to go, well, we're pretty much in this network-based virtual space as consultants, as designers, as translators. How do we make that work for us? Because there's a lot of writing on like how to be a permaculture consultant, how to be a permaculture market gardener. The other one that is common is like the beaver. We like building up the ecosystem, but we don't have all these archetypes mapped out. The idea is that we're going to be going in and kind of scanning in our network for really good case studies. So I have a couple of people in mind, people that do worker-owned businesses, people that do like really cool festivals and then plant trees with that money, and then interviewing these people. And then we're going to have 2 outputs from this, right? The first is kind of this little mappy thing that I've created. It's like, what does this business look like? How can I adapt my business to be like this? And what are some design activities that I could do to get my thinking in this realm, right? So maybe a little bit like what Kate said, the eventual output is going to be a guide that you can work through on your own, that you can work through with your team. And you can take this and think about it, The other output is we're going to go and find 5, 6, 7 great business people. I want to put together a little database to say, at the end of the interview, are you willing to offer mentorship? And then we're going to have a little list of people that you can go, oh, I really want to talk to Misha about this thing. And it's a warm lead, and it's a way that you can go and just like have a bit of mentorship, because I think that's really, really important. So the rest of the team in Sikalelo, we work really well together. We created an amazing guide last year in Emergent Festival. He's also a business person. He's very grassroots, so bringing in that Indigenous leadership aspect as well. And then Camille is just absolutely brilliant, new to the CoLab, and she's also creating her own micro enterprise. So coming in from that perspective where we also are our own target audience. So we're kind of testing these ideas as we build. I'll leave it there, Alan. I'm not sure if I've gone over or under time.
No, you're still good. We still have a couple of minutes to go.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions.
And Camille and Sikalelo, you can also jump in.
Well, you already said a lot, so not sure there's much to add, but as a personal, I was really drawn to this project because, of course, as I'm starting my own enterprise in permaculture, I think it's really great to be able to have an idea of, okay, this already works, what already works, and what can we get inspired from that to build then something new out of it. and yeah, just also going through our different networks, like you said, and that's it.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Vida. You have outspoken, you have taken words because every time when you do presentation, I'm like, Vida goes. But Camille, very true. I understand that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm one of the most example when it comes to this actually mapping the permaculture business module because, last year it was my first year even go to do eco-social design with the learning of the leadership space, and also every time I've been in the permaculture space, but the definition of it was I thought it was new. So but this program actually it's actually to build and to mentor and just to put in order and other people to follow the right track, not to get lost, and indeed this is it's a calling for us because it's very lovely when someone needs advice and we put it there. We're gonna do interviews, and we're gonna do work, and if ever you're getting lost along the way, you're gonna get the direction. I think I'm the one that most of Vida, I think I'm the practical example of most of projects, and particularly even in this space because without even advice, without in reference and other things as well, in terms of making sure that the business of permaculture exists, I was not going to be possible to know it. So working with you is also a good thing, and I'm not lost. I know that people must come in, and we are going to change this place and the land with the research and making sure that we put hands in this thing. So thank you so much for that insightful presentation, and I'm looking forward for this. And thank you so much. Please put in money, Camilla. Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Any other questions?
We're up in time. So okay, Wolf Paul, last question.
So I was just going to ask, in the explanation, you talk about focusing on kind of the digital or networked projects rather than perhaps on-farm permaculture projects. Is that the case? Is that going to be the area of focus, or can it be anything?
So in terms of our interviews, we're looking at anything, but in terms of application, we really wanted to work for people that are in CoLab. And a lot of the micro enterprises coming out of CoLab are just so digital and so network based. So I think it's just having the awareness of both. Thanks, Paul.
Great. All right. Thank you very much.
Oh, beautiful. Can I just try to do an introduction with this particular event that the projects that we've decided we come up with, the project that I was actually in love with from last year, but I was scared to get into because I was a newbie. So I thought, no, it will be too much. But but when we go, we get invitation, we come in, we jump in because exciting about the mission and the vision of the space, because understand that permaculture in Africa, development of and navigating in the space of Slack or collab, international collab, to give grassroots a direction, or rather a place to go to when they need a space to, and also trying to design, trying to make sure that we design and research ways that will be simple for grassroots, especially in Africa, basically to know when if ever they need funding, this is where to go, and give them a simple how to, and invite them in the space, and may also make a partnership with other organizations, and mostly in promoting the permaculture in Africa. I wanted to speak before I can give Amy or Vida, because when we speak about permaculture in Africa, I realize that what it's also a good thing that we're going to create a way for grassroots to grow, and with information that we'll be bringing, and with the space that we'll be giving and inviting them into the space, so that for them it can be simple to get funding or to navigate or even get other things in this space. So by saying that, I'm just I felt like, let me jump in, because I love it, and let me just give it to my partners, so that they can finish and make sure that they take your heart, so that you can put in something. Thank you.
Thanks, Ntsikelelo. Thanks for your passion. I think you're like the living proof of like coming into CoLab through Emergent Fest and then growing into even a leadership role here. So permaculture in Africa is actually something Amy initiated last year. And I think, you know, there's been this process of people from Africa, people from grassroots projects not having a space to land in the CoLab, but there being this need. And so last year we did, you know, I see Maria, you shaking your head like you know exactly what I'm talking about. You were involved with us. We had a really interesting time, actually formed a new circle, you know, and I want to give over to Josie as well, because a lot of this is her core idea of what she would have needed to come into the CoLab. But the output is, again, thinking about next year, we're not going to have Welcome Circle funding or lots of funding to mentor people. So the output's going to be a really easy to follow guide on how you come into the space, what to do, what not to do, how to interact technically, a bit of digital literacy. But there's also another piece, which is the cultural permission. And I think Ntsikelelo even spoke to that in, you know, saying that he didn't feel like he could jump into the project, even though he's a permaculturist in Africa. He didn't feel like he could join us last year. So I think making those things explicit is just helpful for grassroots people. So Josie, do you want to just talk us through a bit more about what the resource is going to look like and the challenges you had?
Sorry, I'm getting there. I managed to unmute myself. Yeah, so I did jump in quite late last year into this circle and was straight into CoLab just to join. Maybe I didn't join the way normal people leave, but I did find it really hard, and still I'm finding it challenging to navigate certain things. So the idea was, I think if I find it hard, I mean, I've been in Malawi for 21 years and I'm not a total tech phobe, and I'm networking as much as I can. So if I'm finding it hard, then how are other grassroots projects ultimately going to find it? So it's the point of any network is to not have bottlenecks, but it's to make it available to as many people as possible so they can find the right people to make the connections they want. So it's basically to try and make those steps easier for grassroots projects all around Africa to make those connections they need within CoLab without getting overwhelmed by other things. Now, and I do think often the needs are really different, and the practice on the ground often is really different, because I'm only talking from Malawi myself, but permaculture here is active things on the ground. It's people changing their livelihoods and their sustainability and their chances of their resilience going forward. So it is a totally different need often than a lot of the people that I would say I chat to often in permaculture. So often resources are there to help people, but it's about fine-tuning your link to the right resources. Too much information is also is a problem. So it's about the right information to the right people. So we want to create a pathway that can hopefully open up the CoLab to more projects and individuals in Africa.
As a footnote to that, I know I've been credited as the initiator of the circle, but I was actually only the synthesizer, and I must credit here Hannah Apricot from the Abundant Earth Foundation, who started referring people to us from Africa. Also Maura Gamble, and also I want to thank Kate and Maria, who are both here today. Let's really shine a light for permaculturists in Africa to come into the space and really do a lot of hand-holding for that to happen. I'm only a synthesizer. I've done practically nothing.
Thanks,
Great.
Amy. That's a very African way of acknowledging the lineage. So thank you for doing that. But you've done so much, and we appreciate your synthesizing. And yeah, Kate, I know I didn't mention you actually, and I saw your hands go up. You've been a big part of it as well. But yeah, I know we're way over time, Ellen. You're gonna have to call us. But I also think that this speaks to the needs of other people besides just in Africa. I think the Global South in general, non-English native speakers, like there's so many people that would find a resource like this helpful. Okay.
Great, thanks. All right, we're going into the next one.
You got as like the 3 projects that we're in, just 3 in a row.
You guys applied all at the same time.
And Sikalila, this is your baby. Do you want to tell us about it? And I'll fill in.
Okay, thank you so much. I feel overwhelmed, being this space from last year, being a newbies to this year, being productive, actually finding love. And as we do this, I grew up in a background of permaculture, but as I said, the definition was a problem when we were growing up because we didn't know this the term. And now we're looking at the Indigenous-Led permaculture collaboration and knowledge sharing. And we realized that, it is important because without my grandfather, without my grandmother, it was not going to be simple for me, basically, to know other things, in terms of, passing, knowing in terms of how you do water recycle, how you do soil, how do you work with soil. Those things I've learned from my grandfather, how to do that and how to actually plant and also sell to people who don't have access to land. But most of cases we find that and as I do this research, I remember that there are some also project. My grandfather also taught me that my child, this is what you plant, this is what you harvest when people are sick or when you want healing. So basically, but when we see that transferring of knowledge and from actually elders to the youth, it's very important. As we are living in a very technology way, we are hoping that old people, as we are doing this research, we're going to interview people, and old people, as they give us information, like I had information with my grandfather, that will make my life easy with that of my children and my grandchildren. That means that is a culture that we established of transferring wisdom and also showing young people this is how we live and this is how we do things. So has been a very great presentation. I mean, a document to work with. I'm not gonna lie, Vida took me to the space, and last year she held my hand. This year she said, "You gonna do it on your own. I know you have capability to do this," and I've been very grateful because now I'm here and I'm making it, and it's happening. So basically, what we want to do also, we want to focus in preserving cultural tradition and promoting sustainability, fostering the intergenerational learning. We also want to increase the collaboration because eventually when we start with this work and we interview elders, there are a lot of people that will want to know about this kind of collaboration, this kind of work, and they'll also want to make it a mean that maybe in Uganda or maybe in Malawi or maybe they'll want to follow in this thing and in this particular work, because this is about education. This is about giving the gift that is rare to get, because we know from our culture that indigenous, that our people were not writing anything, but now putting this thing in order and having information and making sure that we put it in document, and with God have blessed me. Allow me to say he has blessed us because of also Vida very good in designing and making sure that everything that we do, it runs okay. So she's gonna be holding hand with me as we are making sure that we are creating change in the southern hemisphere of Africa, making sure that like last year we create a wonderful guideline in terms of learning from elders, passing over to the next generation. So this is the project about, and it's very interesting because now already as we are talking to you like this, we feel like this is so spiritual to us, because whenever you speak about giving over, you're speaking about teaching people how to learn. We understand that there's also been sicknesses around the world, even in Africa, and we know that our grandparents used to just say, if you take a mango and drink it, you will be okay. But those information, they disappear because they are not found anywhere in the technology system. But with the help of Vida working together, we're going to make sure that everything becomes okay. And I'm very happy to have a partner like her. She's an amazing person, and she's also very dedicated, and she's a good leader. Truly speaking, she's not even pressing her own horn. But I'm here to say, even last year, she's been great. Even this year, she's good and saying to me, you must go, Baba. I'm not going to help you. Do it. And thank you so much. And I hope you have questions that you can raise with me. But trust me, this is one of the event, the project you will love, because you're gonna speak about our grandparents, our from various places, teaching and giving over the gift of life. Because permaculture, it is not only physical, it's something spiritual that you give over, and that thing, it is what the world needs. Thank you so much. I would love to give to Vida also to maybe to give us 6 gun or a tomato sauce there. Thank you so much. Alan, 1 minute left. You know I can preach. Thank you.
No, you got I can't say anything. I don't know if you can see all the hearts on the screen. There's nothing I can say to put it better than that. Maybe just to say that it's not just Africa. We're looking across the world. We're looking through various places we've both traveled. I have to teach Ntsikelelo not to give me so much credit, actually, because he gives me way too much praise. But also about network weaving. I think that's the only other thing I want to say here. It's just about network weaving with other Indigenous-led networks that are doing things within permaculture and adjacent to permaculture, to this space. Thanks.
I just quickly, sorry, but I just wanted to say I could really link together well with the permaculture in Africa theme as well. It was great. It sounds really exciting. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vivi.
I'm excited to see if there's like creative ways of interweaving, kind of like how wisdom used to get passed, like Ntsikelelo saying that wisdom is kind of like dying because it's not recorded in Western ways, let's say. But yeah, is there an interesting way of recording songs and storytelling and stuff like that? I learn a lot from stuff here that happens in Costa Rica, especially in the Caribbean side because of the calypso music. There's a lot of information about foods and stuff like that. They got introduced to the area, and that's one of my best ways of learning about different regions. So I'm excited to see how
Ellen, I'm going to give you a tip about your co-host. This hasn't got anything to do with our project, but your co-host is a well-renowned musician. So
I see. Yeah,
next time you're organizing an event, make sure you call on him.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you so much. Speakers for wonderful progresses. We're going to call Comm-PC-Span to come forward and do their presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ntsikelelo. I'm almost speechless after your speech because it was really emotional. So thank you for that. So I'm going to present our project Comm-PC-Span, which is on the 3rd year. So practically a couple of years ago, I was invited by Aline to participate on this project, and I'm speaking today on behalf of us four now. So practically, we're on the third stage of this project, and our aim is to promote permaculture projects and people in Spanish-speaking countries, and also doing that through a collection of infographics, which we are going to develop with these people. So our aim is to show how permaculture is a holistic and systemic design method, and also give voice to people in Spanish-speaking countries. So our interest is to highlight these projects, to highlight the applications of permaculture, and also to give more visibility and to invite people to CoLab, to see what we do in CoLab. And for that, we took on board this year Camille and Laura, which are part of the team with Aline and myself, and we're going on this adventure together. So maybe if Aline would like to share a couple of words on this project with us, I would be glad to give her voice. Also, since she is the main co-creator of this project from the beginning.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, George, for taking the lead on this as well, because the original lead had to drop out. And now I'm also kind of tight for time. So I'm kind of supporting on this one, but I just wanted to recall the initial drive that Kathy had when she presented this. She was trying to do all of the work that I've been hearing throughout this session, as in, yeah, business models and city work and people in communities. And when she was trying to get permaculture into this type of context in her own context, which is on the Canary Islands, she would get responses like, "Ah, but I don't have any land. Ah, I don't have a garden." And so the initial idea behind it was also a bit more like, okay, why is permaculture in Spanish so tightly knit with it's gardening. You need to mulch your lettuce and then you're a permaculture designer. So this is a big part of it. As in, like, we want to show the 7 petals of the permaculture flower, and we want to show the Spanish-speaking world that there are already social permaculture projects, educational permaculture projects, bioconstruction, energetic, etc. So that it's not just about food sovereignty. Of course, we all need to eat, but that it has a lot more systemic design and holistic focus incorporated, so that other people may actually join the bandwagon, and then we can get all sorts of regenerative stuff happening, and we can duplicate all that you have said in Spanish as well. Thanks.
Maybe Laura or Camille want to say a couple of words, even if you just joined the team in this moment, but maybe it's also inspiring and useful to listen to your voices on this.
Yeah, I joined the project also because I don't come from a Spanish speaking. I barely speak Spanish actually, but in the French community, it's the same. Permaculture is really seen, and all the references are all about gardening, and the immediate thought is, oh, but I don't have a land, what can I do? And this is really something also in actually the business that I'm starting, I'm trying to work against, so to speak, or to just show that there's just so much more to that. And so I'm very dedicated to that, because I think it's so important to get a better understanding at what permaculture is, at what permaculture can do. So I'm excited. Thank you.
Well,
I just was excited to be part of a project here in CoLab and get my hands in a collaborative project. So I don't have much experience. I am definitely in love with permaculture for quite some time, but I was doing it by myself all the time. So it's really nice to get a chance to collaborate and get that process and be able to share it as well, because I realize how important it is to create these webs. So I'm really thankful to be here. Thank you.
So thank you for sharing your points also. And I just like to resume quite quickly what have we done and what we are doing this year. So we did a survey on permaculture projects in Spanish-speaking countries. We contacted some projects and people, and we're at the point now to create these infographics where people showcase their projects and their way of applying permaculture within the permaculture petals of David Holmgren's permaculture flower. So if you would like if you have some questions about this or would like to comment somehow, we're open to questions.
We're up on time, but if anybody has any quick questions, feel free to go for it.
I don't have a question. I just have enthusiasm for this project because when I saw how active the African group was, I was like contacting Maria and other members asking, oh, should we do a Latin American group? And I was just, at that time, I just arrived at the CoLab, so I didn't know. So I'm really looking forward to this, and I hope you get the funding needed.
Thank you, Alejandra. Gracias.
De nada.
Caroline, if you can make your question succinct, that'll be great.
Okay, yeah, just a quick one. I didn't know what the permaculture festival and raving was all about. So I got the email 6 days ago, so I didn't have time to, anyway, I just didn't know what it was all about. So I'm here and I'm kind of loving it.
Great, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing the energy.
Of course, Alan, it's been a very nice introduction, a very nice presentation, and thank you so much for affirmation of greatness, Ms. Kenya. We appreciate that. So our next presentation will be translation of Rosemary's Morrow's permaculture teachings, teacher training into Spanish. Are we there?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So the project is pretty straightforward. Rosemary Morrow, who's a well-respected permaculture educator from Australia, who spent 4 decades traveling around the globe, in a large part in the majority world and conflict zones. She created the permaculture teacher training course to have a multiplier effect, which is, coherent with a lot of what other people are saying. And the idea now is to be able to reach the Spanish-speaking world, which is actually Spanish being the second most spoken native language in the world after Mandarin Chinese. And so it's and of course this project's also coherent with the previous project of how can we get permaculture more out there in the Spanish-speaking world, and how can we support the development and also learn from what's happening in the Spanish-speaking world. So we have a third edition of the teacher training manual that has just come out in this last year. And now we have a date for the first teacher training that we'll do in Spanish with Mai, with also another teacher from Andalusia, Candela Vargas. And so what we need to do is we need a little empujón, which is Spanish for a little push. because it's a big, yeah, pequeño empujón, because it's a big project. However, it is achievable because we have Mai, we have identified Diego, who's a diploma student of Mai's, and also we will need other support, but we have the idea to follow an example from Italy, where they translated the Bill Mollison's designer manual collectively. And so we can do something similar by offering places on the course to a few people to help us finish the translation in time for the training. So we now have translations of the manual already in French and Ukrainian, and now and so, okay, I see a question from Amy. Yes, we've invited Diego to join us on the CoLab. And so right now what we need, but right now it's mostly Mai's and our project, and then we're going to invite in special translators to help us. How will it help the CoLab? We can promote the translation work that we're doing through the CoLab. We can also offer opportunities first to people in the CoLab who are Spanish speakers and can help with translation. And ultimately, I think it really does align well with the goals, with the objectives of the CoLab of promoting permaculture and making it more inclusive around the world. And I didn't list volunteer hours because after co-editing in a volunteer way 3 editions of the manual, working on the different translations, I'm going to be working on this a lot of volunteer hours. I couldn't calculate a precise number of volunteer hours, but yeah, so that is essentially the project. I wonder if Mai has anything she'd like to add before we ask if there are any questions.
No, the only thing I see to add is that, like, I think the how do you say, the Spanish PC, like, your name is very weird, George. ¿Cómo era? Spanish PC Com, or no, Comm-PC Spanish?
Comm-PC-Span.
That's it. The the Comm-PC-Spanish and our project go together because, like, I think, like, they complement, no? And this way we can reach more Spanish speaking people. And usually Rosemary Morrow's book is free, like it's a free download, and it's not like we're not going to make money with this, and it's really done for empowering people and be able to disseminate permaculture more in Spanish. So I think they go well together.
So are there any, as I say in my courses, are there any questions, comments, insults, anything you have in the last moments before we wrap up?
Alfred, it's really nice to see you here again. It's nice to see you back in the CoLab space. It's nice working with you at PAB. Yeah, I had a question. Maybe Mai, you answered it. Primero, me encanta este proyecto, and I love that you guys are making it more accessible. Like, it's great. What's the copyright stuff? Like, you have to have permission from Rosemary to do this. What does that look like? Who owns it at the end of it? Yeah.
It's copyleft or creative copyright. So yeah, it's available to the public for Creative Commons use.
Gorgeous. Yeah, I guess I have a question that might be controversial in the space. But with translation projects, I do wonder, there's very specific permaculture things that need a person to look at, but I do wonder at this point what the value of putting this through an AI and getting like a really good translation is that saves like loads and loads of hours, and then having a person proofread that. Is that going to be part of your system, or you're just like, we're not using AI because of the footprint, or is there any place for that?
Mai, do you want to answer or should I?
Yeah,
well,
I can start saying that we started the translating this. I came into the project of translating the book how many years ago? 3 years ago, maybe.
3 years ago.
Alfred. And we were trying to do it like human translation, and it takes time and several people working on it. And you see, 3 years later, it wasn't translated yet. And Alfred got a new edition. So everything we translated, like poof, garbage, you know, it doesn't. And yeah, Diego is a professional translator, and he decided to bring AI in the project. So yes, we can have like the first draft using AI, but then there's a lot of proofreading because we want to use inclusive language. It's very difficult to have inclusive language when you translate from English to Spanish, because now we start with genders and like it, but we want to keep the original wording that is not gender exclusive. So like we want to do it right. And then there's, for example, there's a huge appendix with energizers and everything is with English songs. And then you see that and ahora how can I use them? Like you can't translate that, so you need to find new energizers where you can use Spanish wording. And no, so there's still a lot of work to do, and you need to have, like, AI can't do that. So
I'm so glad I asked, because I have much more context of what you're going to be doing. So thank you. It sounds like a great project.
All right,
Jorge.
We're on time, but Jorge, if you want a quick
Thanks, Alan. I just wanted to say I'm really glad to see you here with this project, and definitely we're going on the same direction. And good luck with the next process, but definitely we're going in the same direction, and I'm glad to see you here, and we will keep on collaborating for sure.
which is building building social capital as a resilient organizational development strategy. Are you ready? Over to you. Here's the mic. Thank you.
You can hear me.
Perfect. Over to you.
Yeah. I have moved down from where we live up in the forest, and I hope that the coverage is good enough for me to present. This is actually very similar to a lot that I've heard in the beginning of this session, where Kate and Mayi, for example, are talking about impact measurement, and then Vida and Camille and Nitskelelo are talking about permaculture business models, because this is also practical tools for regenerative businesses, as in how can we apply the social permaculture principles to our businesses, and how can we actually go in, consult, give people tools. The deliverables will be very clear, very concise, and we would walk towards them by prototyping and actually getting some sessions together with, well, you know, my own business. I'm putting it up for for prototyping, testing, etc. The idea here is a bit, I think, pattern mining, as in looking at what is working in some cooperatives around the world. There is Mondragón in Spain, the biggest cooperative in the world, if I understand correctly. Then there is another really exciting company actually in Catalonia that is really totally, truly horizontal. And so how can we get to these places where collaborative people, collaborative employees, if need be, can actually be the value that the company is offering? So not necessarily how to set up a cooperative and all be part owner, but rather how to grow social capital in your company with employees, if you have employees, and have people identify with the product in such a way that they are so passionate about what is happening and what they are moving in pro of the planet, in pro of people, and also allocating in a just way all the resources that abound when you work with nature and not against her. So Patagonia comes to mind as well as an example. And so what are they doing? How can we put this in a 3 to 5 pager document or slideshow? As in, okay, first you self-assess, something like a bullseye kind of tool. Where is your business at right now? Then how can you apply some permaculture principles, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, however much we want to highlight. And then how can you keep people engaged and excited about the work that they are actually performing on the job, if you want to call it that, still, when they are like passionate and social capital is growing. So growth in a different perspective. I think maybe that's kind of like the gist of it. Ninad, if there's anything that you would want to add to this particular topic.
Not right now, thanks.
Okay, so then I think we've got a short one here, and maybe there is even an opportunity to actually sit down in at least one session to see if there's any overlap with any of the other projects that have been already presented earlier here today. Thank you.
Any questions? We have 3 minutes left, but if there's any questions?
On our next speaker.
Okay, great. And Sikelelo. All right, we have our last one right now. So last but not least, we have our talent management in organization inspired by permaculture principles and design.
It's last and short one in terms of presenting. So this project is exploring the edge between permaculture and business, or to be more specific, between permaculture and what is conventionally called human resources management or talent management. So we just would like to explore and produce a couple of artifacts that could be used after Permaculture CoLab or this project is completed to support people looking into introducing different organizational practices in a business setting. So the rest of explanation is very, very similar as what Alina just said, which is not strange because it's the same team, but with a different angle. We are focusing on what is called agile management or talent management, how to introduce people care into this. So that's it. Everything else you can read when you will be looking at the projects with your Raver hat on.
Great.
Any questions?
Yeah, great. Any questions?